Hello everyone. Hello everyone. In this code, we are going to demonstrate two important statistical hypothesis tests: the independent t-test and the chi-square test. The t-test is used to compare the average exam scores of the two classes, while the chi-square test is used to determine whether there is a relationship between the gender and the subject choices. So first one is a t-test. So what is the t-test? A t-test is used to compare the means, that means the average of the two groups, and determine whether the difference between them is statistically significant. So in t-test there are two hypotheses. First one is the null hypothesis, which means the mean exam scores of the class A and class B are equal. The second one is the alternative hypothesis, that means the mean exam score of the class A and class B are different. So in t-test we firstly create the exam scores data for the class A and the class B. We store the exam scores of the two classes. These scores will be get compared. Then we perform a t-test, perform an independent two sample t-test, which returns the t-stat, which is the t-statistics and the p-value. Then we display the result by using the print function. Here we display the result by using a print function. Then for the decision making, we set alpha as 0.05, which sets the significance level of the 5%, and then we use the if else function to compare them. If p value is less than 0 alpha, that means a 0.05, then it reject the hypothesis, which says the conclusion of the reject the hypothesis, which is significant difference between a class A and class B means. Then else it failed to reject the hypothesis, which conclusion is failed to reject the hypothesis, no significant difference between class A and class B. So in this, which is what is the t statistics? The t statistics measures how different the two group means are relative to the variation in the data. So a larger absolute value, that means a stronger evidence against the null hypothesis, and smaller value, that means groups are more similar. So, and the next test is a chi-square test. A chi-square test is a independence is used to determine whether two categorical variables are related. For this example, the variable 1 is the gender, variable 2 is the subject choice. The test checks whether subject choice depends on the gender. So there are also two hypotheses, null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis, that means gender and subject choices are independent, and alternative hypothesis, that means gender and subject choices are the related. So chi-square, for the chi-square testing, we firstly create a contingency table which has the data 30, 10 and 20, 40. That means for the male there's 30 science, 10 arts, and for the female 20 science, 40 arts. Then we perform a chi-square test. For this, it is CHI2, which used to chi-square statistics, P, which is used for the p-value, DOF for the degree of freedom, and expected for the expected frequency. Then we display the result by using a print function, which prints all the test result. And for the decision making, we use the if else function, which says p is less than alpha. If the p is less than the alpha, then we reject the hypothesis if p value is less than 0.05. Else we fail to reject the hypothesis. So in this, what is the chi-square statistics? The chi-square statistics measures how much the observed frequency differ from the expected frequency. So if the large value, then the strong evidence of the relationship. If the small value, then the observed values are close to expected values. Here is the output of the code, wherein the t-test result, the t-statistics value is the 3.19 and the p-value is 0.007. The t-statistics shows the difference between the average scores of the class A and the class B. The p-value is less than the 0.05. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. Here the conclusion says that the null hypothesis is rejected. This means there is a significant difference between the average scores of the two classes, And for the chi-square test, which is the chi2 is equal to 15.04 and p-value is equal to 0.00, and degree of freedom is 1. So here are the expected frequencies 20, 20 and 30, 30. The chi-square value measures the association between the gender and the subject choice. The p-value is less than 0.05, therefore null hypothesis is rejected. The conclusion of this is the rejected the null hypothesis. This means gender and the subject choices are related and not independent.